In today's video, I would like to introduce you to a lady by the name of Renee. Now, Renee joined my eBay Launch Lab 12-week challenge 10 weeks ago, and I have been blown away every single week by Renee's sales performance. I think this story today is a perfect case example of just what is possible for beginner eBay sellers out there if you're looking to start eBay for the very first time. So let's jump into the chat that I had with Renee. And I know she's got a bunch of great value. I think the first thing that most people are going to want to know is just how good are these numbers?
In the last, since I started the challenge, the 14th of April, I've done $27,797 worth of revenue. My average sale price is sitting at $61.09. I've sold 455 items in this time.
Wow.
So it's been crazy good.
What does that work out to on a daily basis for 68 days, I wonder? I got the calculator here. We got 455 divided by 68. You're selling at 6.6 items every single day since you started.
Absolutely. And some days there's lots, and then, other days there's not as much. But yeah, generally I reckon there's at least 5 a day. And then there's a couple of days a week where it fluctuates, like on the weekends. Yep.
Nice. It's unreal. To have done $27,000 in 68 days, literally with you hadn't been selling on eBay prior, had you? This is from scratch, just giving it a go.
Yeah, from zero.
From zero. What, I guess, right back to the start, the origins of it all, what made you decide, I guess, initially to get into eBay and start to give eBay a bit of a go?
Well, I was watching a fishing video, actually, and then I don't know how you ended up in there, but you did. You ended up in there, and I watched you, and I was like, what's this guy doing? He's Aussie, and he's on the Goldie, and he's selling stuff and making money. And I thought, oh, man, this could be the perfect side hustle for me because I want to make a bit of extra money, outside of my normal job. And then I started watching your videos, and I thought, I can do this, but I didn't start because I didn't have the confidence. So I was watching you, really wanted to do it, but hadn't started. And it'd been like, that was the end of last year. But then, it got to the start of this year, and I still hadn't started yet. I really wanted to.
Yeah, unreal. Did you have some stock prior to getting started with eBay, or did you have to go out and source from the beginning?
I did start sourcing before the challenge, like probably about October, November last year, because I sort of was like, oh yeah, I want to start going out and having a look. But the one thing I did do, I'd watched a lot of YouTube videos like of yourself and other sellers, and they always spoke about looking up items before you purchase as being key principle and checking the sell-through rate and checking how much it does actually sell for. And so when I did start looking at items, that's what I started doing. And it's quite daunting initially and would take me a long time to do when I was out in the thrift. But as you do it more, you actually learn very quickly what items not to buy and what to buy, but probably more items not to buy. And then when you do buy the item, you can have confidence in your decision making.
Yeah.
That is going to sell.
Before you've even got home, right?
Yeah. That's right. There and then, before you commit.
Well, talking on that from a strategy perspective, what has been the strategy that you've kind of used? Like you say, when you come home and you know what a good item is. I think that's the tricky thing for a lot of us is we often just see something on the shelf and we assume that it might be a good purchase. We base it off a low sale or purchase price in store. And then we just come back home and we do the research when we get back home. But it sounds like you haven't been doing that.
Not at all. Just from the other, like watching YouTube people reselling, how important it is to look it up at the time, because then you can avoid making a mistake or an error. And look, you can't assume that everything in one particular category is going to have a good sell-through. And sell-through is the ultimate, really, because you want it to have a good sale price as well, because you don't want to be working for no money. But, you want to be your time getting you a good return, but it has to sell.
It does. It does. Yeah. And the sell-through rate will give you that information off the eBay app while you're out and about. The process of pricing, that's something that we often talk about quite heavily. How do you go about pricing up that item when you're going to be putting it into a pool of just so many other people out there that are trying to sell potentially the same item as you? You've had 455 sales. You've had those 6.5 sales every single day as a beginner, where you're not really getting too much traffic as a beginner. You don't get the impressions and the page views because you don't have a lot of items in your store yet. What you're seemingly able to do is find that product in store, know that it's a good product, but then also hit the crucial element of listing it up correctly for a buyer to come along and go, wow, that looks like a great buy. Let's go ahead and make that purchase. So what are you doing to get that perfect price point?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, actually. So once I've committed to buying the item, I get home and I have a look at just looking at how the prices are stratified on eBay. So looking at like how many items there are, what the highest price is, what the lowest price is, and then sort of what the condition of my item is, and is it complete? And then also just trying to make it attractive because I am a new seller, and trying to sort of tempt people to buy my item over someone who's more experienced and more sales and has that history, that reputable selling history. I try and price it in the lower third of where the listing prices are. And also I try and build postage into the pricing so that the buyer knows that, yep, I've just got to pay this one fee, and that includes postage. It's easy and it's an attractive price as well. And also, but you're building that post price into it, so they don't have to think, oh, it's $30 and then I've still got to pay $15 on top. You just make it the one price, and I think it makes it more attractive.
International shipping as well for you has been, you touched on it, obviously. We spoke, I think, in week 2 or 3, you were pretty gung-ho about, let me just learn international shipping a little bit more and get my head around it.
Yeah.
How big has that been for you, do you think, with all these numbers?
Look, I think definitely worthwhile setting it up in the start. I probably do about 5 internationals a week, and mainly to America. But I was just blown away by hearing in your videos about how many, like 48 million buyers in America, or 58 million. I'm like, that is insane. And that is like nothing compared to Australia. So I really wanted to make sure that I was reaching out to the Americans as well and selling to them. And also, I think there are products that, do tend to sell better overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can speak a little about the products and I guess what's turning over well for you. We saw video games was turning over quite well. Before we do that though, I wanted to have a bit of a chat about mindset and productivity, because you're a busy lady. You've got a lot on. I know when we talk about it each week, you're trying to balance this with a full-time job and you're working big swing shifts as well. You've got these big 12-hour shifts, don't you?
Yeah.
So how do you, from the get-go, enable yourself to be able to go, I'm going to do eBay, which is a big, heavy workload, especially to the degree that you're trying to do it at,
Yeah.
and adapt that straight into your life and have it all, seemingly, hum along pretty well.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I do have to think about how you can fit it in. And before you even take on the challenge, think about, is this something I want to commit to for 12 weeks? And can I make time for this? And I think even we'd had discussions in our group chats about, I even asked you for some suggestions, and you sort of said to me about draft banking. So I do a lot of draft banking on my days off. And then that way I know I've got all my listings already drafted for the days when I'm at work. So in the morning, I just get up and I press, make the listing active to $100 or $200 of value. And then I know my listings are good. And all I really need to do on my work days is do the post. And so how I do that, although I get home tired, I do my post tired, which is probably not a good thing. But I get home and I pick the orders and I do the post at night. And that way in the morning, I can just drop the basket at the post office. Or I can have someone else drop the basket at the post office for me.
So are you using your non-work days as your heavy focused eBay days and getting that draft bank out there so that you wake up in the morning and put the listings live, and then the shipping comes nighttime before you go to bed, basically?
Yeah, because I was finding that as I've gotten busier with sales, I used to just do the shipping in the morning when I got up. But sometimes that takes quite a considerable amount of time, or more time than I think, because you've got to pick the item and then you've got to package it. And packaging is really important. If you do all that work to find a good item and list it up, and you get a buyer and then you don't package it properly, it can destroy your sale, and it can also give you a negative feedback. So it's really important to put thought into the items and how you pack them.
Yep.
So I definitely focus on draft banking items on my days off, and then all I do on my work days is list live item and then do the post.
Do the post as well. It's perfect. It's probably the best approach, I think, in the sense of balance, right? Like you're not in overdrive on the days you've got to commit to your work hours, and then obviously you're able to put a lot of work in when you do have a day off, and hopefully find a bit of time in that day off for yourself as well, because I've come to realize that is very, very important too. What about motivation? Surely there's been some, I mean, you've had some great sales coming in, so motivation is going to be high when we're selling. But do you lapse in motivation? Has there been any tough times for you over these last 10 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. Like last week, I think week 9 was it was an interesting week because it was a really hard week, but it was also a really good week. It was hard in that I got a negative feedback, which I sort of had to work through, because you always try to find good items, sell good items, give good customer service, and sometimes things are beyond what you can control and what you can do. And then trying to think, okay, we'll move away from the emotional side of that negative review. What can I do to get myself back on track and the store on track? and just trying to be positive. And I think I made that switch on Friday. I was like, right, I'm going to send out offers. I'm going to do some store maintenance, and let's just start fresh for the weekend. And it did. It definitely, Saturday I got a few more sales, and then Sunday it was back to normal. And you just can't let that negativity stay in your head. You have to think about this is actually, you need to process it and move forward from it.
It's tough
Because,
though.
it could really drag you down if you stay in that negativity.
And I think a lot of people do too. Like it's the I guess the non-awareness around the fact that if you were to just get back into the rhythm that you were in before the negative feedback came through, things do pick up pretty quickly again. And like you said, you saw those sales come back through. And I'm pretty sure that last week was a PB, best
Yes.
sales week by the end of it. So by doing that, you're able to get yourself back into track. And then not only that, but you also had the best week that you've ever had, even with your first ever negative feedback coming in. So
I know. And how insane was that? Monday morning, I was looking at how many sold items I'd had for that week. And I was like, this is crazy. What a roller coaster week, but so good.
unreal. All right, let's talk about product. Like, what are you buying when you're out and about? You're saying that you know how to find these things, you know how to go ahead and price these things, but we haven't actually spoken about what you're selling. I spied video games.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing? Are you just selling video games like crazy on eBay?
No, definitely not a copycat.
Okay.
I'd love to sell video games and just do that, but honestly, I don't find them where I am. But why I did have so many good video game sales is because I went to this garage sale that was actually like 40 minutes out of town. And there was a whole box of video games there because the people were leaving and going interstate. And he had them all priced individually. And I just said, how much for the whole box? And he looked at his mum and he just said $200. So I just bought the whole box. And it was just like a big chest moving box. So that's why I've had a lot of video game sales. And I've still got stuff left in that box, but it's definitely made me excellent profit.
Excellent profit. Yeah, 200 bucks.
Um,
That's insane.
I sort of don't know. Like, I sort of just sell everything that's got you can sell anything, that's the thing. And I guess while I'm beginning, I'm trying to suss out what do I like selling and what sells well. So, I've dabbled in shoes, I've dabbled in DVDs, mobility aids, but not the big items, like not like wheelie walkers or anything, but things like things to help people open jars or compression stocking applicators. I've sold like every single one of them I had.
Wow.
And you find them for $2 and they're selling for $50 like within 2 days.
Wow.
It's just crazy because that stuff is really expensive, brand new. Even a visual aid like a blind cane, I've sold one of them.
Wow.
So yeah, you'd be surprised. Like, there's lots of different categories out there. You should just look everything up though, because how often would you walk past those stocking applicators?
Yeah, I know.
Just
Well, I've
pieces
probably
of
walked
plastic.
past them for 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, pieces of plastic for $2 and they sell for 50 really quick. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I think clothes, like I've tried clothes a bit, but clothes are hard, and I think that's because the market's so saturated. Shoes are good. I think, well, shoes are a little bit slow as well, but shoes do have a higher average sale price if you get the right ones.
Yeah.
So they're sort of worth your time.
And you've been focusing on average sale price quite a lot, haven't you? Because I think you're
Yeah.
averaging about $60 of an average
Yeah.
sale price, which is a really nice number. Are
Yeah.
you listing up many $20 to $30 items, or are you leaving them on?
Oh, in the beginning, like I had a lot of like, I found some really high end, good, high priced items.
Hmm.
And so I was listing them first because I wanted the sales and I wanted the money.
Yeah.
But since then I've found it's just about what you can find when you're out in the thrift and out in the garage sale. And it's been a lot more lower value items, but I really don't want to have any low priced items. But, if I can still sell them and make a profit for $30, I do.
Yeah.
Because it's still money in my pocket and I've still got to get rid of the item, you
I
know?
suppose I suppose if it's a bread and butter sort of $20 to $30
Yeah.
item, if you're noticing sell-through rate is quite quickly or quite quick coming through, it's why not take it for a couple of dollars of quick profit if you know it's going to turn around fast.
Yep.
So I think there's still definitely a reason to keep continuing with those sort of items, but you want to be having that mindset of the $60
More.
plus that you're in. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
really now I've actually sort of slowed down my sourcing because I do have a bit of a inventory already, and I really want to spend my time rather than looking for more items, moving the items I've got.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, and then when I do look now, I really only look for $50 plus items. So more times than not, I actually buy nothing more than I buy things. I
Yeah.
just go and look. And I've actually moved more to garage sale hunting because I feel like you can get a better cost of goods price that way. But it is a bit more of a look because you've got to go to multiple places. So my sourcing time is usually like a Saturday and a Sunday morning. But like I said, last weekend I didn't source, and this weekend I'm not going to source. I'm just going to keep listing and use that time to list up items.
Love it. I love it. The Launch Lab, we're 10
Mm.
weeks in now. I think we've only got 2 weeks to go and we've got to say goodbye in the format that we're in. It's not goodbye forever because we'll always be continually catching up. But what's been the one element, say, of the Launch Lab that you've kind of gravitated towards and enjoyed the most about the experience?
The weekly calls, like with the group and hosted by you, definitely. It's like, the information from you. It's the whole package, really. It's the modules that you do before we start, because that gives you like the ground concepts and you can start thinking about that. And then you start putting it into practice, and then you can talk about issues with the group in the weekly call. And the other sellers that are learning as well, you all share your information. And so you support each other. And then there's also things we can bounce off you, and you can sort of give us that, little teachings if we need in the actual Zoom call, but also that after support. So, I know that I've emailed you and we've had to talk about other things outside of that, to help me get my international postage sorted and started. And that's been really good. Like, the whole program has given me the confidence and having that backing I can do this.
Yeah, and you've proven it. $27,000 worth of sales, 455 sales coming in. The numbers personally have blown away my expectation of what I would assume somebody would be able to achieve. I've personally started stores, and I've within 10 weeks probably had about $5,000 in revenue. And I've been doing this for 5 years, thinking that $5,000 was a great number, and you've blown this away, having never sold on eBay before, 5x that. So I've always just been completely enamored by the way that you're going about it each and every week, sending through these results. So that's why I wanted to get you on this call today, to kind of unpack the way that you're doing things, because it's so well done, it's so efficient. And I definitely think having the group there to support, but I think the group has almost kind of lent on your results and your comments a lot, throughout the weekly Zoom calls that we have. So it has been really, really incredible to have you in the group. I think for a viewer out there watching, they're probably looking at these numbers in this story and they're probably thinking, how do I achieve what Renee is achieving? Because that is exactly what I think anyone starting eBay would want to have achieved. If somebody has started, they might be only doing 1 or 2 sales a day, or they might be on the fence completely like you were 10 weeks ago and they're wanting to get into eBay for the very first time. What's a little tidbit of Renee advice that you could give for somebody out there going, Renee's motivated me, I'm going to give this thing a go?
Consistency. Like, honestly, consistency. List every day. List a value amount. Check the sell-through rate on everything. Find items that have a good sell-through and a high sale price. Be competitive in your pricing, and it will sell.
So true.
And just keep consistent. If you're not getting sales that day, just keep going for tomorrow, because the tide always changes.
It does. You can't get too high, you can't get too low, right? You've got to stay even keel, and you've just got to go about your business. And like you said with the negative review, don't allow things that happen to get in the way of your motivation to keep pushing on with the game plan. Does work. It does work if you can just stick with it. And you've navigated your first real negative experience really well there to prove to yourself moving forward that if it does happen again, I know that what the game plan is, and I know that it works, and it's proving to be the case.
Yeah, I can't believe this whole thing's really exceeded my expectations as well. Like at the end of the first week, I was hoping just to make 1 sale.
Yeah.
And I made 9, and I was like, oh my God. And I even said to my mother, this has exceeded my expectations. And it's just continued every week. I can't believe it.
Oh, it's incredible. You've done a fantastic job. You're not finished yet with the challenge. I've said to Renee that if she can hit 500 sales, I'll give her an extra $250 worth of the top sales leader prize of 500 originally. So you're going to have $750. I should pay. I'll say it now. I'm going to pay you out early. I'll pay you out today. $750, because second place isn't going to top Renee. She's just been way out there at top spot since pretty much week 1. So well done, Renee. That's awesome. I wanted to get you on, like I said, for this chat. So thank you for being a part of it.
No, thank you. And look, anyone out there that really hasn't started but wants to start, do the challenge. You won't regret it.
Now, I do really want to say that Renee has been a really unique scenario of success. She's definitely broken the averages by a long way. The rest of the guys in the group haven't necessarily had the exact same success that Renee has had, But to be honest with you, this program is designed for you to be able to get your first $3,000 in revenue and 100 sales transactions. So if you're interested in just starting eBay the right way with the right methods and the right concepts and also a bit of motivation and accountability along the way, Cohort 2 for our eBay Launch Lab 12-week challenge kicks off on July 13. Applications are open from July 13. So you can join the waitlist right now by hitting the link in the description, submitting your details, and then we'll be in touch on July 13 when applications open. Big thank you to Renee for this video. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. I'll leave you with this video right here. We'll see you soon.